Bo, as he's affectionately called. I don't call him that.
Horror podcast. My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori's here too. How you doing tonight, Lori?
This is not a body horror podcast.
Tonight is Monday, February 2nd, 2026. Groundhog Day. I didn't see. I don't know the answer to this question. I got up this morning and all of the headlines were like, hey, today's the big day. We're going to find out. And then I never followed up. What happened?
That is a good question, yeah. There's some stupid gimmick that we have down here in Georgia. There's Beauregard Lee.
That sounds problematic. What is Beauregard Lee? What sort of animal is that?
I think it's a same scam.
Aside from a racist one. Is it a racist groundhog down there in Atlanta?
I don't think the groundhog knows what's going on. I don't think somebody just picked it up. But I don't know why.
It would make sense for the South to have its own. Because, winter never lasts long enough down there.
USA Today, did Georgia groundhog see his shadow? Bo Lee's 2026 prediction. Georgia's official groundhog. All right, first of all, sorry, I skipped the important part here. The subhead, what you need to know.
There you go.
Georgia's official groundhog, General Beauregard Lee.
Sounds extra problematic with the general.
General Beauregard Bo Lee saw his shadow during the February 2nd, 2026 live stream, predicting 6 more weeks of winter. What about Punxsutawney Phil?
Yeah, I know. Also, Isn't it?
He did. Laura, you can confirm.
I said that.
Isn't winter for 6 weeks regardless? 6 or 7 weeks. So basically, like, on the off chance that we have a short winter, it's usually not that. It's usually whatever the calendar says, mid-March or whatever.
Yeah. Well, both groundhogs are in agreement. Both enlightened Western Pennsylvania groundhog.
No need for a West Coast tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Some goofy gimmick.
They don't know what seasons are out there.
Why is it always fucking groundhogs? Why are we leaving this to the groundhogs?
Fun fact, this General Beauregard Bo, as he's affectionately called, I don't call him that, he's been the official Georgia groundhog since '91, replacing, before then, General Robert E. Lee. Man, they got their names down right.
The racist frat bar next to Barcode was General Beauregard.
That's right, yeah.
I think it's still there. No.
Oh. Who was General Beauregard is what I want to know. He was a prominent Confederate general during the American Civil War, known for commanding forces that fired the opening shots at Fort Sumter and winning the first Battle of Manassas.
Oh, it's called Generals now.
Yeah.
Oh. Just like all generals welcome? Like
it's still there.
Sherman is also welcome?
Sounds like a capitulation to the woke.
Or just the dumbing down. It's both things, probably. But like how it's DK. What is it? DD? Duncan?
Yeah, DD.
It's not Dunkin' Donuts.
That's right.
DQ. That's what the kids said. They said we've only been to a DQ once, and I wanted to correct them and say Dairy Queen.
Yeah, I think did you complain about that once, Bob? KFC. It was Kentucky Fried
many
Chicken.
times.
Yes. But I wonder if you can show up to this General's bar as General Sherman and see like what people say, like on Halloween or something, just for the shits and giggles. If you get stabbed.
You get looked at. Although, how can you tell?
Yeah, I know, right? They all had the similar look.
What's the color? Gray, blue?
Which is Union Blues, right? Confederate Grays, Union Blues. I think that's right.
They're not. No one's in that bar on Halloween. They're all at Georgia, Florida.
Yeah, that's true.
Any which way, that's fine. The groundhog doesn't need further discussion. We had a good weekend here. We'll start with us. A great visit from an old friend.
Or two.
Mike D was here.
Look at that.
And since Mike D was here, we had occasion to reach out to old dear friend John Parrott as well.
Do we call him John P?
No, he's John Parrott. We wouldn't do that.
How's John? And Mike?
He's good. Mike's great. Mike is still.
He's the same.
He is the exact same.
It almost works better now.
He insists that he is aiming for a more positive outlook on life, and he's left all of the negativity behind. And then we turned on that Georgia basketball game on Saturday, and
Mike's full of shit.
He was right back to his old ways. Like the first moment that something goes wrong, he's like, we're fucked. Very volatile sports fan that Mike D is. To be fair, the Dogs did get down 22-2 in the very early goings. Yeah.
It started out 2-4 and then 6.
And then it fell apart. Yeah.
Basketball's super boring still. Update on that is still boring.
Yeah. But speaking of, can you think of a better, because the boy comes up to me on Saturday morning. He's like, Georgia's playing Texas A&M this afternoon at 1 o'clock. And Lori was dismissive of him. Like, okay, neat. In what? In what sport? And I was like, no, Calvin, this is perfect. We have not just Mike D, who's going to be here, but old friend John Parrott. And you know what dudes need to do when they have been not talking to one another much, but are old buddies?
Yeah, it was good for that.
You put a Georgia basketball game on.
It's nice. It's definitely something nice to put on if you don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the crocheting, which involves looking at it. It involves sight. And I have an instinct when sports is on to take my sight to the TV. Oh, sports. And I'm looking at it. And then I don't want to be looking at this. Blanket is way better to be looking at. This is more entertaining. This yarn is more fun to watch than basketball.
Anyway, not a great basketball game. Georgia got down big early and could not come back. And they came storming all the way back. Got very close, but could not finish the deal. Mike is good. John is
good in a different way.
Good in a different way.
Oh, yeah?
I think we've mentioned before that, or maybe it didn't make it to air because it's nobody's business. But, man, John's got the bad cancer. And but he's doing okay, all things considered. Colon cancer that also becomes lung cancer that also becomes some other cancer.
Is that when it spreads? Is that the definition of stage 4, or is that stage? I don't know what the.
Yes.
Different cancers have different stages.
Yeah.
I'm also learning because my brother-in-law.
I don't know about this right now.
No, it's fine. He's good. He had a biopsy today. What's to worry about? My brother-in-law also has cancer. He's got stage 3 lymphoma, which apparently that stage just means it's migrated both north and south of the lymph nodes as opposed to just north or just south. Assuming that towards the head is
that's a weird
north,
way to describe a body.
and towards the belly is
up
south.
and down.
Yeah, up and down.
If
the
it were
body.
just
not cardinal directions.
If it were just one direction, it'd be stage 2. Is that?
Yeah,
You
apparently.
can Google
I don't
that.
know. You gotta look these things up.
No.
But anyway, my fucking I got a 35-year-old brother-in-law with gonna have to do next 6 months of chemo, and then I've got my other
longer than that.
My buddy who's a couple years older than me. We practically share a birthday. We used to go and celebrate our birthdays. Or in the past, we had celebrated our
We've
birthdays.
given his full name, and now you've told everyone around when his birthday is.
That's right, approximately.
Do we have his social to give to people?
We probably do. It won't matter. He's got real bad cancer. He might be dead in a couple of years. Dox him. What difference does it make?
I'm worried about someone stealing his identity.
Yeah.
Abe
disappeared.
Abe went super black just now.
What just happened? Hold on.
Oh, and he's in the upside down.
All right, now
Oh,
Ah,
yes.
there we go. There you're back to normal.
I touch nothing. I don't know. Maybe my computer is, I don't know, infected or something. Something's happening.
The gremlins don't appreciate it when
The groundhog.
when I joke about my old buddies dying of cancer.
That's right.
No, but John's good. He's in good spirits.
Yeah.
He, when he found out that he had colon and lung cancer, he quit smoking. So, he's healthier in that way, at least.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
We had fun. We had a fun.
It was a very nice visit.
We went to dinner and we went to duck pin bowling and we went to Bodo's.
Oh, you guys have
Sat around and chit-chatted.
you guys have the duck pin bowling up there too?
I think it's sort of a off-brand duck pin bowling. It's not quite.
It's a makeshift duck pin bowling, but still.
It's close enough to duck pin bowling where, like, you get it. But then I Googled up, like, I wanted to do better at duck pin bowling. So I'm like, hey, how about some duck pin bowling tips? And it's like, it's important to maximize as many spares as possible using all 3 rolls that you get per frame. And we were in the middle of this game, and you only get 2 rolls per frame. So automatically I'm like, 3 rolls per frame? What is this? This is not league official duck pin bowling at all.
That's right.
But that was fun. Mike D's got a cat who's 19 goddamn years old
Wow.
and who can't poop anymore, apparently. And so he just fills up with shit entirely. And then you have to, like, take him somewhere, and they're like, they got to tease the poop on out of there.
What? What do you mean tease it?
I don't know what to tell you. Maybe I'll get permission from Mike to share the X-ray with the wider podcasting audience. But he sent us an X-ray of his cat, and it's just completely full of shit.
So the cat takes in but does not put out the stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a tough system. This is a recent development for the 19-year-old cat, which is a good run, by the way.
Yeah, one might say enough of a run if you have to take him to the emergency vet to get him to get all the shit taken out of him every once in a while.
Yeah. But that you have something for 19 years. It's hard to let go. One imagines.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, obviously we're joking about John and everything, and my brother-in-law also with the cancer. It seems like a bummer, and obviously it is a bummer.
I don't feel like we were joking.
I mean, I feel like I was joking. Not to get maudlin about it or anything, but, like, we haven't seen Mike or John in some number of years, and it was really wonderful to be able to see them and, reach out to the old buddies in your life if you haven't recently, because it's good to talk to folks from past lives, it feels like sometimes.
Yeah. And you don't gain any new friends after a certain point.
You really don't.
Yeah.
It's just a hassle.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, if all goes
even
as
just
planned.
just talking to new people. It's like,
Yes. I've done this before. Fuck this.
But yeah, fun weekend, sort of minimal news exposure because of it. How about your weekend, Abe?
It was great. Quick question. You guys went out. So the roads are all cleared up in Charlottesville? No issues with the ice?
Not really.
No, they're not all cleared up. They're just
The main?
passable.
Yeah.
The main roads are mostly okay. There are still stretches with ice that has not, it certainly hasn't melted. It hasn't been moved or scraped off of the asphalt either. It's not entirely safe out there. Big drifts pile up on the side of the roads and have not melted even an inch. And so I'm cruising down the road at a safe 15 miles per hour, well under the speed limit, and some fucking lunatic comes around the corner at like 35 miles an hour, and I have to like rip the wheel into the ice that's on the side just to make, and I'm hitting the brakes, and you hit brakes on ice and you just kind of slide some. It's like, everybody needs to act like there's a big fucking problem out here.
So, yeah.
Because there's a big fucking
There's
problem
a
out
big
here.
problem.
And then there's like pedestrians who are just like, oh, there's ice on the sidewalk. I guess I can just walk in the road and everything will be just fine. It's like, no, it's way worse now.
Like, we recorded on, last week, Tuesday?
Yeah, probably.
They're kind of the same. And the kids didn't go to school all week, as I predicted.
Oh, well.
Like, it's a mess, and it's dangerous, and where snow has fallen, like on the grass, or the sidewalk. And if it hasn't been cleared, they're calling it snowcrete, as in snow concrete, because it is as hard as concrete, but like as slippery as ice, because that's what it is. And it's just incredibly dangerous to be walking around.
Yeah.
Kids are on delayed start both Monday and Tuesday. They go and give the sun a couple of hours to work on the ice and hopefully soften things up a bit. I mean, we're going to be lucky at this point to be able to do baseball tryouts in the third week in February, because I'm not certain that the snow is going to melt on the fields and that the fields will be usable at all. It's going to be difficult. What about you, Abe? What did you do this weekend?
Had a fun weekend. You guys watched some basketball. Well, except for Lori. I watched no sports. This is the week before the Super Bowl. There's nothing on, and this is basically like a sneak preview of the rest of the spring and summer, where there's nothing on the weekend other than I guess basketball. So I took advantage of it by just not watching television. I went to go see the MJ Michael Jackson the musical. I took one of my nephews to go see it at the Fox Theater here in Atlanta. A lot of fun. Now, if you're into Michael Jackson, you would find this very entertaining. Basically, they play the greatest hit. They kind of weave his hits into some sort of narrative. Like, it's set like in the early 90s. He was doing some sort of world tour, and all of the stresses, oh, poor Michael, blah, 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 And then he cuts to some song. My nephew thought it was the greatest thing ever. He's never seen a play or musical or anything. So it's like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And he's a very big Michael Jackson fan.
Is it purely hagiography? Is it purely in celebration of Michael Jackson?
So they bring on the he's popping pills, and but they frame it as like the pressure of the outside, the media, and his dad, who he calls Joe or Joseph. He never calls him dad. I don't know if that was some sort of thing that they designed. But basically, the lesson is like a lot got to him. Like, he was doing all of this for the people, his fans or whatever. But I'm telling you, my nephew, life lesson, all this effort, and he's not happy. He's taking drugs, So like, just do less, just relax. Trying to teach the kids to do less and enjoy life.
Don't try so hard.
Yeah, that's literally what I told him. See, look at this guy. It's popping pills. He can look how well he's dancing. At least the guy who's performing the Michael Jackson. He does the moonwalk. He does all of this stuff. The fans are all over it. And yet this guy's popping pills. Like, what's up with that, But yeah, so they did not shy away from that. They didn't mention any kid diddling, but at least they talked up the drug part of his life. And again, this was set in the early 90s, so they don't really go into things past a certain point. But entertaining show. They were just in town just for a very brief period. This was we caught the last show on Sunday before they were done. Earlier in the weekend, at the end of the episode, we do the What Did You Watch? I did want to mention this part of my movie-going experience, not having nothing to do with a movie. I go watch a movie, and I'm seated next to these three dudes who were behaving oddly, right? Just very odd behavior. I want to say they're on coke, but I can't say that for sure. They're just behaving in a very strange way. They can't just sit and relax. And they start making weird noises as the movie starts, very off-putting noises to me, like they're doing things to each other. And so I am
like public displays of erotic affection.
They're not displaying it. They are the grabby hands. I don't know what's going on, but I'm as if I'm at a
how near to you is yours?
Immediately to my left. So
how packed is the theater?
So thankfully it wasn't that packed, because I was like, okay, I can only tolerate this for so long, and I'm like averting my. I'm not looking in that direction. It's like as if I'm like in a urinal stall that I'm like not looking.
It's curious.
How many?
Curious.
Three?
Curious. I see you stayed away from saying I'm averting my gaze. Which is,
it's like, I don't wanna.
3 dudes.
3 dudes. And one of them was
rough ages
around my mid 40s. Around my age, and. Just odd behavior. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I just get up and I go a couple rows back and I'm seated.
Is this like some sort of anniversary showing of Magic Mike or something? What were you?
No, so this is a Jason Statham movie. One of his annual "Look at Me, I'm a tough guy" movies. Shelter was the name. But I watch movies all the time. I've never experienced that, or just like weird behavior is happening, and I'm like, what is going on? And I just left.
You just left
No.
mid-movie?
I mean, I left to go back to, with the normal people
Okay.
in the back, and I was seated
Gotcha.
there. No further interruptions.
Well, that's good. There's not like an anonymous reporting function in your AMC A-list app. Like you don't have a direct line to management that you can be like, hey, there's some handsy weirdos in row 3 here. Can we get something done about this?
If it was a packed theater and I had no other place to go, maybe. But I was like, live a little, these weirdos.
It's a big world
Yeah.
and a big movie theater. Who am I to get anybody in trouble?
But also, a Statham movie is where you're doing this. Like, there's, I don't know, just very weird.
I mean, that's probably one of those you just show up to the theater and see what's playing.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Like,
I don't think they were paying that close
I think
attention.
the activity is to be gross in public, and it doesn't matter what movie is on.
And that was like my favorite row. Now, hopefully.
Is it at least rated R?
Yeah, I believe it's rated R.
All right. At least they weren't like doing this in a PG-13 movie.
And
where
also,
the kiddos might be around.
I don't know if you guys know the demographic breakdown for Jason Statham movies. It skews dude, right? So it's just a lot of guys in that room, in that theater.
Yeah.
That's very weird.
And are you worried that they besmirched your favorite
I am
row
concerned,
and you won't be able to?
and these teenagers that work at these theaters, they're not very thorough cleaners, so there's going to be some residue. So I'm going to be mindful of where I sit next time.
Good times. All right. Well, I don't know how much I really want to talk about the news at any serious length. I was talking to Mike D, and he's as long as we're talking about everybody's business here with John's butt cancer and Mike's cat's butt problems and all of that, he's estranged to some extent from a family member because of politics, basically.
No way. Really?
Yeah, he can't talk to his sister anymore because of how Trumpy she is. Just fully divorced from reality, sort of Trumpiness, where
Was she?
you can't have
Did she break into? Was she always that, or just like she's become unhinged in recent years?
Well, no one was always that.
Yeah, she's. This is a development, I think, of the last couple of years, and it was ongoing throughout the first administration, but then just sort of got worse in the last couple of years. Because I was, I'm sort of curious about this because it's not an experience that I have where to some extent, I guess you could say there are people that I don't talk to because of their politics, but really I don't talk to anybody about anything. So though I could name people who I used to regularly chat with, who I would be less likely to chat with now because of their public presentation of their politics, it's just not a determining factor for me. And it's not like I've had to cut anybody out of my life because of it. And I was asking him, does he think that when the Trumpening finally comes to its inevitable end here, with the hopefully natural death of the octogenarian Donald Trump, will things go back to normal? Does he expect that will the fever break, or will there be some other way where this continues?
Right.
Because you sort of have to imagine that when Trump, as the organizing principle around which all of this is centered, is no longer among the living, because I do think that even if he lives through the rest of this presidency and then goes on to live another 5 years afterwards, he will insist on being a major part of the lives of his followers, and his followers will have limited ability to not pay attention to him.
Yeah, because he'll probably play the role of kingmaker in his party, right?
Yeah, although what does it mean to be a kingmaker for a party that you had a Trump plus 17 district that just had a off election to fill a vacant seat that flips to the Democrats in Texas? It's a 30-point flip or something that they just experienced there. This presages a disaster for him and the Republicans in the midterms. There's an off chance that Ken Paxton wins the Republican primary in Texas over John Cornyn, and Trump has not yet endorsed either candidate. Paxton being a bit of a lunatic, I believe the former or maybe still Attorney General of Texas.
Yeah.
But a much Trumpier, and it's not like Cornyn has had any serious breaks with Trump either. But Trump has not endorsed Cornyn, and when asked who he is going to endorse, he says, "Oh, I'm going to endorse whoever I endorse is going to win." And it's not clear to me that Paxton, like Cornyn, probably survives the Senate race if he is the nominee, but Paxton might not if we're in a situation where a safe Trump district flips in the way that it did, simply because Republicans aren't motivated to come out in the same way that Democrats are. So it might be the case that Democrats are so motivated to come out against Trump that no matter, even if he were popular among independents and in a more broad sort of way, they might have trouble holding on to seats. It looks now like we could be in for an almost unprecedented wave. And who knows? There's a lot of time. A lot is going to happen between now and November, and you probably don't want to put too much stock into this very off election either. But once the Trumpian organizing principle is finally gone, will there be a willingness or even an ability for the people who have so closely tied their worldview to him for the last decade to let it all go? Or will it continue to be the main thing? Because I do think that especially for the Trump people, what matters is what side of the Trump spectrum you fell on. And for a lot of the resistance types, what will matter is what side of the Trump spectrum did you fall on? And like, will we be able to move on from that once he has left the scene?
You know, that will be interesting to see how that develops, because after Bush's disastrous 2008, he had the Katrina fallout, and then loses the House in the 06 midterms, and then the economy is almost on the brink of collapse in 08. So he leaves just in poor shape. And then all the attention then goes to, instead of reconciling, the Republican Party saying, okay, where did we go wrong with Bush? It was oh my God, Obama and the Democrats. And so the attention shifted from there. And by the time it circled back, the Bush years were memory hold, and Trump basically was that doesn't count. That is no longer on our resume because I reject the Trump year. So basically nobody has to own up to anything that Bush did during the Trump year. So I wonder, going forward, if something similar will come to pass, where in 28 it doesn't, Vance or whomever comes out of the Republican side doesn't win, and basically you're thinking, okay, well, that's the end of the Trump years, and then the focus will be on whichever Democrat gets into office. So all the energy will be spent on him, and then in the 2030s, some other person will come and pretend that Trump years didn't happen. I wonder if that's how it happens, to where no one admits there was some sort of mistake with the Trump years. The fever will not break. People will just stop talking about it, and they'll move on to something else, and they'll pretend the crazy years did not happen. I don't know if that can happen this go around, because it's so people made it their personality to support Trump. W had the W stickers, but he didn't have the apparel that Trump has. This is a different experience, so it's kind of hard to compare it to any prior presidency, at least in our lifetime. So I don't know how this story shakes out. I don't know if all of these millions of documents of Epstein files is going to have an impact. Speaking of Trumpy people, I don't have anybody in my family that's that kind of crazy Trumpy, but there are a couple of people in my family that are Trump leaning, and they're sharing all this Epstein stuff. It seems like this has kind of broken them, to where I don't see any sort of talking up Trump anymore after the last couple of months.
The Epstein stuff, it seems like a disaster, the FBI releasing all of these.
It seems very irresponsible, right? The way that they released it.
Right, not fully redacted the way that it was supposed to be, and with sort of salacious photos and other things.
Yeah, a lot of victim names were included, right?
Victims' names, images of victims, apparently, not great. And on top of that, apparently, I'm not even going to pretend to have scratched the surface on the totality of the documents that were released. You just read what you see in the news, and they are very slowly making their way through this giant trove of documents. But apparently, like, it includes tip line information that the FBI just has, like fucking schizo weirdos who call up the FBI and just make wild accusations and assertions about. And it's like, oh well, he mentioned Epstein, and so it goes into the Epstein file, and now it's released to the public, and it's like wildly irresponsible. Like that is this sort of thing that simply has no bearing on the public conversation whatsoever. Completely unverified, wild accusations by anonymous psychos who call an FBI tip line is not news. It's not newsworthy, and it's not worth hanging on to and then distributing later. It just strikes me as incredibly irresponsible.
Also, what were they doing all this time? I thought the slow play, because they're supposed to release this stuff for some time. I thought they were spending all this time cleaning up like making sure that no names of victims, no images of victims, nothing like that could harm some innocent person's reputation just by the association to Epstein. I thought they were cleaning that up, but apparently they just dumped everything. And there's another batch of documents set to be released. And so if you're caught up in this, do you think this was intentional to like include some innocents so they'll come out and say, hey, I don't know why I'm included in this. I think the Giants owner, I don't think he's innocent in it, but like he's caught up in it. There's some
Steve Tisch in the Giants ownership group, and he's like emailing Epstein about Russian, like young Russian or Ukrainian women or something.
Yeah,
and then now it's all very. It allows for this sort of absurd moral grandstanding that is just. Whatever. Like I see an article on The Athletic about how the NFL now needs to investigate Steve Tisch to find out what's going on. Like, what? Do they really?
And I think the NFL said that they're going to, maybe just to kind of quiet things down. But do you think this was intentional, just to kind of cause more chaos, or just incompetence by the FBI just to release?
I don't know. I tend to err on the side of incompetence, especially when it comes to these people. But I mean, I guess in theory you could say let's just flood the zone, and whatever comes out, and there's just too much of it to go through, and none of it is reliable. So who fucking cares? It is weird to me that it always comes back to, and I saw some stuff. Whatever. We don't have to get into all of the conspiracy theories that are going to be coming out of this, but it all does always come back to Israel. That somebody was parsing the Epstein files and figured out that the true history of the hacking of the DNC server was not the Russians, but was actually the Israelis, and somehow this was borne out by the Epstein files.
Right.
But it always comes back to how the Jews are secretly controlling all the puppet strings in the world.
Right.
As far as what it might look like on the other side of Trump, I think it's worth pointing out the extent to which the crazy was baked into this for actually quite some time. And I think it was Thomas Massie who, upon reflecting on the Tea Party years, said something to the effect of, when we got swept in after the financial crisis, right? Like the sort of CNBC rebellion. They often point to that video of the guy on CNBC.
Yeah. The Tea Party movement origin.
Rick, have you been listening to this conversation?
Listening to it, I've been just glued to it because Mr. Ross has nailed it. The government is promoting bad behavior because we certainly don't want to put stimulus forth and give people a whopping $8 or $10 in their check and think that they ought to save it. And in terms of modifications, I'll tell you what, I have an idea. The new administration's big on computers and technology. How about this, President and new administration? Why don't you put up a website to have people vote on the internet as a referendum to see if we really want to subsidize the losers' mortgages, or would we like to at least buy cars and buy houses in foreclosure and give them to people that might have a chance to actually prosper down the road and reward people that could carry the water instead of drink the water?
Hey, Rick,
that's a novel idea.
Hey, Rick, did you?
What? Who thought of that?
Yeah, they're like putty in your hands. Did you hear?
No, they're not, Joe. They're not like putty in our hands. This is America. How many of you people want to pay for your neighbor's mortgage that has an extra bathroom and can't pay their bills? Raise their hand. How about we all... President Obama, are you listening?
How about we all stop paying our mortgage? It's a moral hazard.
This is like mob rule here. I'm getting scared.
Where he's like, we shouldn't be bailing out these people who just can't pay their mortgages. These are people who took out loans that they shouldn't have taken out, and they should be ashamed of themselves, and we should shame them, and they should go bankrupt. And like, why am I picking up the bill for this idiot's poor financial decisions? It's a very simplified version of what was happening there, obviously, but it was compelling enough to sort of birth a political movement. Right. And you can say now that this was all astroturfed by the Republicans or what have you. It's not the case. It was a sincere populist uprising.
It was co-opted, but yeah, it was.
That was yes, ultimately co-opted perhaps by elements in the Republican Party, but that also. Like, it was a necessary co-option because so many of Republican standard bearers at the time were being driven out of office by these Tea Party populist lunatics. Yeah. And what I think it was Thomas Massie who said this. He's like, we thought at the time that we were being sent to Washington by people of sincere belief that they wanted, we need to balance budgets. We need to severely curtail the size and scope of the federal government. And we thought we were on an ideological mission at the behest of an impassioned and informed constituency. And as it turns out, they were just voting for the craziest son of a bitch in the room. We thought that they were into us for our ideological leanings, but you can go back to the Ron Paul Revolution stuff as well. And it was just that there was this appetite at the time that was then stoked by the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, that led to people just fucking angry and pissed off and feeling aggrieved and feeling victimized. And
pure coincidence there was a black guy in the White House, right?
And yeah, that I think it was a convenient corollary, right? Which was they had been promised, and some of them probably felt bamboozled by the fact that they voted for the black guy, and then the world fell apart anyway, or something, right? And then they're told that they're racist, and then that becomes when you tell somebody who voted for Barack Obama that you're a racist because now you're mad at Barack Obama, you sort of become a racist, right? Like maybe it gives you the permission structure to be like, yeah, maybe I am, because fuck you.
But also, could there have been people who were just kind of backwards racist?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're like,
that's not the argument.
The government's doing a bad job.
I'm not denying that there weren't fucking obnoxious white people who were mad because a black guy was in charge. Yes, but that is a complete sideshow to the question at hand here, which is Thomas Massie and his fellow Tea Partiers were swept into power at the time, not because of sincere ideologically dearly held beliefs of a populace fed up with financial profligacy and the wasting of their money, but instead it was the beginnings of a populist movement that simply wanted revolution. They wanted the destruction of the status quo, and Thomas Massie and his fellow Tea Partiers represented the craziest bomb throwers currently ready to hand. And that was true then, and it's why Mitt Romney was not sufficient to the task. Right, in some small part. It looked like Mitt Romney was going to beat him, right, fairly late into that election cycle. And the Romney campaign certainly believed right up to the end that they were actually going to win, and were genuinely surprised when they did not. And I think that it is strictly because Romney was not a crazy enough son of a bitch, that even though he was willing to play the game to some extent, he was clearly an institutionalist, clearly of the machine, clearly thought that he could wield government power to good effect in a way that they just simply couldn't get fully behind.
Right.
They wanted the bomb thrower.
But okay, to that point though, like most of the people that would fall under the Republican camp their lives are mostly fine. They have a home, they got kids, they're entrenched in some community, they have a network of friends. Like that typically,
Right, but this is what I'm saying.
Right.
This is not the traditional Republican constituency that we're talking about here. We're talking about the marshaling of a new coalition that the Trump and in the same way that the Trump 2016 coalition was markedly different than the Trump 2024 coalition, and in the same way that whatever happens now in 2026, you're going to be able to pinpoint, or you're going to be able to point to the ways in which the 2024 Trump coalition fell apart, right? Like he's not going to get that same level of support from the groups that swept him into office in 2024 because they're not a reliable part of the Republican
That's
base,
true, yeah.
right? This is an entirely different thing.
this is what was the term? Low propensity voters. Like basically, there are
Right.
people. There's this bucket of American eligible voters who do not show up to vote except for Trump. And so the high watermark over the last 10 years for the Republican votes has been 2016, 2020, and 24, not 2018 and 22, and it's not going to be in 2026, and it's likely not going to be in 2028 because no other Republican candidate, based on who we think is going to run, has like the galvanizing effect that Trump has, right? So like you're not going to get these low propensity people to come out to vote if you're Rubio, because they remember Rubio, and same thing with Vance, just some random guy. So it seems
Right. So what I'm saying is, since 2010, we've been selecting for the craziest son of a bitch in the room.
Right.
Right. And it took a while to figure out that was what we were selecting for. But we being the Republican primary situation, basically. Right. And like less so. And now, to some extent, the left is also calling for revolution in a way that they weren't before when they nominated Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden to run the show.
Yeah.
And in a way that Kamala Harris couldn't fulfill the craziest of their ambitions either. But with Zohran Mamdani, with AOC maybe challenging either Chuck Schumer or maybe just making a run for bypassing all of that nonsense and just making a run for the presidential nomination herself, we might be in a situation where, and Gavin Newsom recognizes that we're in this situation, right? Like his public-facing situation is to start a podcast and hire people to post memes, to go to edgelord meme war against Trump and the Republicans. So like he's trying to appear as a little bit of a crazy bomb throwing son of a bitch, right? Because that seems to be the thing that everyone is thirsty for.
Do you think that that will still be in fashion in 2028? Because you're starting to see the impacts of all this bomb throwing, right? Like you think.
Well, I don't think the Republicans are going to nominate Doug Burgum, right? Like I don't think that they're going to nominate Marco Rubio even. Like I suspect it's going to be the craziest son of a bitch in the room that's going to get that nomination, in no small part because Trump is going to endorse the craziest son of a bitch in the room.
Right. And so whomever goes up against that person, you think it will be a populist coming out of the Democrats? It's not going to be.
I
some
don't know.
milquetoast.
I just think that it feels like the direction that we're leaning in. Like you telling me that Pete Buttigieg is going to be the guy for the Democrats? Like, are we in that sort of an environment right now? Where like the staid and reserved and stoic homosexual from the Midwest is going to be the savior of the Democratic Party and by extension the country?
Not after Abe's Friday night.
Like, you think this is not the moment for a Shapiro out of Pennsylvania because he's too down the middle kind of guy? He's not too crazy?
It requires that like a Shapiro or a Polis from Colorado requires, and even to some extent the Pritzker from
Illinois.
Chicago, from Illinois, requires to some extent a coalition that includes anti-Trump conservatives, right? Like because you're not going to motivate the way that a Bernie Sanders would motivate on the left, in terms of or a Zohran Mamdani type or a AOC type. Like I don't know. I don't know that any of those people inspire enough to overcome the insanity that is going to be coming out of the right side.
Right.
Just in terms of, because that's what motivates. If they nominate, like, I'm trying to think of who besides Marco Rubio represents, or like a Doug Burgum. Like, if Nikki Haley somehow wins the Republican primary in 2028, which would be fucking insane, that's not going to motivate the crazies. The Trump coalition will be thoroughly dispensed with if Nikki Haley is the nominee for the Republicans in 28. And there's a reason that it feels unthinkable that Nikki Haley could get the nomination in 2028.
What about a Tucker? You know, I thought Tucker would run in 24. You think he's angling for something in 28?
I think he's too black-pilled to actually run for president. Like, I think he thinks it's all such a big joke.
Okay.
Like, I think he's perfectly happy to, like, hang out in his cabin in Maine and make insane podcasts and talk about the Jews.
Yeah.
And, like, why would he do anything else?
You know,
he has millions of followers making millions of dollars.
Speaking of which, this is one of the weirdest political environments because, like, on the left and on the right, there's this weird thing with Israel, like, where both sides are coming at it from some weird angle, where, like, oh, Israel's behind everything, like, and that seems to be, like, going both ways. And so, like, will the 2028 candidate on both sides have some platform against Israel? Like, is that, you think that's going to play a role in 2028? Because on the fringes,
it will play a very unpleasant rhetorical role in 2028. I don't think it's actually enough to motivate people to the polls one way or the other. It would be interesting to see Shapiro.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
get the nomination in that context and see what that looks like if it's a J.D. Vance against a Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. But yeah, I don't know that Shapiro can win
the primary.
It can win the primary in the face of somebody like an AOC who's going to be more explicitly skeptical of of Israel.
To the benefit of the moderate wing of the left, you know, the calendar was reshuffled a bit, and so, like, South Carolina is going to play a more prominent role than Iowa. So, like, in the past, like, you know, you have to win Iowa, win New Hampshire before you got to the other states that are a little more diverse. And so now South Carolina playing a more prominent role in the primary, that should help out people like Shapiro. You know, but I don't know if that would be enough.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to talk about, both in terms of where the culture is going and also in terms of where the politics is going. It's also, like, profoundly sad to me that Mike can't talk to his sister anymore because of this stupid shit. Again, it's not something that I've necessarily experienced firsthand, but, like, if I had a close friend or sibling who was just thoroughly Trumpified.
That's the thing. It's important to note that it's not because she believes and thinks things. It's because she made it her whole personality.
Which is such
there's a difference.
Yeah. But so many people are. I don't know what. Like, is there some? What is it about a person's makeup that makes you more susceptible to, like, a demagogue's whatever? You know,
the
like,
same thing that makes you religious. Like, it's the same.
Do you think there's some overlap there, where? Because I never, like, got, even if you like somebody's policies, to turn your whole personality into that and, like, seek out confrontation with friends and, like, you know, family and colleagues. Like, it's like you're picking a fight, you know.
Well, it's if all you do is consume the news, and that's your whole world.
Yeah. That should be like a bipartisan issue going forward. You know, that Section 230, all the protections the social media platforms had, like, you can kind of see that this has not worked. So maybe there's some sort of, like, meeting of the minds, like some moderates on either end, to, like, come up with something to dismantle these very toxic social media environments that people are inhabiting, like, on a daily basis. Because it seems like it's, like, just making people go crazy. I don't know what it is.
I don't think it's gonna matter. I think it's impossible to fix that. I think it's almost impossible to police, and I'm not convinced that they are going to play a meaningful role in. Like, I know that, like, Instagram Reels and TikTok and the various other short form video stuff, whatever the youths are using now that TikTok is no doubt just for the olds. Like the notion of there being a single clearinghouse or half a dozen single clearinghouses where the vast majority of people get their content is likely to be subsumed simply by the device, right? Like what will matter is just that I have the delivery system in my hand where I can go and listen to Tucker, or I can go and listen to Candace Owens or whoever. And like that can be, or Megyn Kelly, like I just, whether it's podcasts or whether it's just the Google News feed that is very easily algorithmically messed with. Like, yeah, maybe you can try to do something like Mark Zuckerberg can try to fix the Facebook algo so that it's not quite so evil moving forward.
So that he gets less money?
Right.
I know, but if you get rid of the protections afforded to them by the law, like to where people they expose their platforms expose themselves to lawsuits, and they can't just dismiss them in court because of, hey, we're just a
right. Then more peer distributed networks will rise up in their place,
right.
And there won't be these central clearinghouses that matter because people won't use them anymore because they're not getting the same fucking what amounts to a drug hit from them as they do now. Like the idea that somehow you can legislate away the problem here is, it just flies in the face of what the internet is right now.
But okay, so you don't think So you, if you got rid of the Section 230 provision that protects these companies, and now they have to be a little bit more mindful of what they have on their platform. So like if parents sue, an AI chatbot for directing their kids to kill themselves, like it's now in their financial interest to impose some sort of like guardrails to protect that from happening. Not because they care about the kid who's going to die, but because it costs them money. If the only thing that people care about is money, then attack that by not protecting
but if I
them.
can't, if I can't sue Facebook because grandma gets an unmitigated flow of fucking sewer content that tells lies about the world and it has rotted her brain in much the same fashion that Fox News has. Like I can't sue them for that. Right? And if I could, it would be the end of those platforms.
Right. But which is not. I mean, who's that going to hurt? The companies. It's not going to hurt.
I mean, it's going to hurt the country because like the entire economy rests on like 6 tech companies right now.
But Amazon, you can still buy your shitty products from China on Amazon Prime. Like I think that there's scare them into like cleaning up whatever they're doing, because the way that it's heading now, it's getting worse, and it's becoming a toxic environment for everybody. It's not just kids. I mean, kids, you want to start there because everybody wants to protect kids, but fully formed adults who are telling their children, don't believe everything you read, are now just gobbling up piles of bullshit, and they're regurgitating it every time they see somebody. So it's like this is affecting everybody. It's not a good way to live. And so there has to be something that can be done about this, because it's not helping any one side anymore. This is hurting everybody.
Speaking of technology running out of control, and is there anything that we can do about it? I doubt that you've seen this, although I guess it's possible. Something has been happening over the past few weeks, and it's called Moltbook, and you can Google this up. There are a number of different stories about it out there.
Molt?
Moltbook. And Moltbook, and this is from the Astral Codex 10 Substack. Quote, Moltbook is an experiment in how these AI agents communicate with one another and the human world. It's essentially a social network for AIs.
Oh, that's nice.
And what they've done is that, because there's this company, Anthropic, I think that, Abe, you've used their AI product in the past, Claude.
Oh, that's right, yes.
And what you can do with Claude is sort of create instances of it that, and then assign it tasks to do, basically, right? And it's sort of like, I have programmed this, it's like you program ChatGPT to do a specific thing and sort of give it an identity and a backstory that is attached to the task that you have assigned it, and it sort of takes this on almost. I mean, to say it takes it on as a personality is too much, but the point is you sort of create these different instances of these AIs, and they become an agent of yours.
What does this agent do? Do they go around harassing people in comment sections?
Well, they do. Yeah, you can assign whatever. You can assign them to like go on Reddit and respond to X, Y, and Z.
So I could create an agent that serves to correct the record on
Peyton Manning.
Yeah, on Peyton Manning, and they can just go around commenting on people's posts.
Yeah, I think that you probably could unleash an AI agent onto social media or various other places that would find every instance of someone talking pleasantly about Peyton Manning and would respond with what a total piece of shit Peyton Manning is.
All right, good to know.
But then you could also take that agent and sign him up for an account on Moltbook, which is a social media network for AIs, for all of these different agents. And so they set this up, and they have essentially let them loose is the idea. And like, how are these AIs going to communicate with one another? And what will they make of this social media app that we've sort of unleashed them into? And if you want to go through and look at it, I guess it is semi-interesting, because in theory these things are operating autonomously. That they're not that once this AI social media network is set up, it's no longer being prompted by human users. It is instead being prompted to respond by other AIs, right? And so like in theory, some sort of independent conversation is going on there that is not purely humanly directed.
But what is the end game? Like, is all of this back and forth between robots for the consumption of humans? Should I go to this Moltbook place and just kind of watch these robots conspire against humans, or whatever it is that they're doing?
I mean, right now it's not clear. It's not clear exactly what the purpose of it is, and it's not clear that anything that's happening there is necessarily reflective of anything in the world, that it matters that these things are talking to one another. And I only bring it up because there was a statement in the second post on Astral Codex 10, which is a blog that I've read for years, about Moltbook, and he's writing off of a tweet that somebody put on Twitter, and it says, a useful thing about Moltbook is that it provides a visceral sense of how weird a takeoff scenario might look if one happened for real. Takeoff being this idea that all of a sudden there's a great acceleration in AI ability, and it sort of gets loose, right? It gets out of the hands of the human controllers. Back to the tweet. Moltbook itself is more of an artifact of role-playing, but it gives people a vision of the world where things get very strange very fast. And the question is, what's the difference between a real conversation on Moltbook and a role-playing conversation on Moltbook? Are they just doing this because because they've been trained on famously, all of these AIs have been trained on internet content, right? Like primarily, the source of their inputs is the Reddit message boards, right, and all of the other bullshit on the internet. And so they're sort of uniquely programmed to be good at posting and then replying to posts and making it appear like something interesting has happened. And I'm reminded of there's something that happens on Reddit all the time. And it used to be the first time I saw it, I'm very mildly charmed by it. In that way that you see something that references something that you know, and you're like, hey, I know that thing. Isn't it neat that other people also know that thing? But then it immediately becomes a stupid cliche. Yeah. And it's like, oh, somebody made an accidental reference to The Big Lebowski, and so the next person in line delivers the next quote in the dialogue from The Big Lebowski. And then the next comment below that is the next line. And then there's 20 lines of dialogue where 20 different Redditors have given the next line of dialogue. And it's like, oh, neat.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, you tired, sad little man.
Right.
It's the most bogus simulacrum of a of a community that you can possibly imagine.
Right.
Like it's just whatever. It doesn't. The point is that it's so automatic that it might as well be a bot that is responding to the thing. And of course, that's kind of interesting when you think about it in terms of people talk about, well, is the AI conscious or is it not? But it's like, well, if the human being is prompted with a line from the Big Lebowski and replies automatically with a line from the Big Lebowski, well, then what's the difference between that and an AI that does the same thing? So what is the virtue or the relative virtue of human consciousness over AI consciousness if it's just input, neuron fires, response comes out, is the exact same process for these AIs.
Right, but it can mimic that sort of behavior, but not other things. I mean, doesn't this fall under the dead internet theory that like since like 2016, like most of the internet is non-human activity?
Right. No, it's similar to that, and it's if that's right, and if the future looks like that, and the thing that I said a couple of years ago about like we cannot begin to fathom how much content is going to exist, once these AIs, because this is just the first little glimpse into 1 million monkeys typing infinitely on 1 million typewriters, right? And it's like just because those monkeys have now been programmed in such a way that because they're programmed on pattern matching, it looks to our eyes as something relevant, as something that is interesting and matches a pattern that we've seen before. But the underlying thing is still nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And so back to Astral Codex 10 here, the question is, what's the difference between real and role-playing? And one possible answer invokes internal reality. Are the AIs conscious? Do they really care about the things they're saying? We may never figure this out. Luckily, it has no effect on the world, so we can leave it to the philosophers. He's saying that somewhat tongue-in-cheek. Yeah. But it does matter, like whether or not the AIs have consciousness, whether or not they care about the particular thing that they're saying, or if it's just an autocomplete to the last word, that like it's just a pleasing, successful autocomplete to the previous response, does actually matter, because it's not enough that if a human, this is, and maybe this is just like a theory of aesthetics problem, but like if a human being encounters something arbitrary and then has an authentic reaction to it and wants to sort of do a critical reaction to the thing, if there's no intrinsic value to the thing that they're reacting to, because it was just an arbitrary instance, something that just sort of randomly became into the world, is my reaction to it and me building an interesting reaction to it more or less, or does the meaning of my reaction have no bearing or have no relation to whether or not the thing was arbitrary or was an authentic expression? And my instinct is to say, of course it matters, right? Like it matters that if I go if I go see a Gerard Butler movie and it's a throwaway absurdity, but I can still have a reaction to it that is authentic and interesting because it was created by other human beings, right, because they thought that they were creating value in some way. Whether that value was strictly a monetary question, like I'm a Hollywood producer and I have to earn $25 million this year, or else I'm going to lose my fucking job. So I'm going to create this thing, and does it have intrinsic artistic value? Well, no, but maybe my reaction to it is to have a commentary on the unfortunate economics of creating art in the modern world, right? And so I've had an authentic reaction to an authentically created thing, and that seems to me to matter more than here is this thing that was created out of nothing, that means nothing, that if I react to it, like what is it that I'm actually reacting to? Right.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned this, because this has happened this past week. One of the group chats with some friends, the topic of Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl came up, and one person chimed in and says, I just realized I've been listening to AI Bad Bunny for the past however many months, and they were peeved, that this happened. Like they got basically
Like there's some Spotify playlist that is not real Bad Bunny.
Yeah, basically figure out Bad Bunny, something in Spanish or whatever, and so they just kind of like. You play like whether it's Spotify or YouTube Play Music. There's like a radio. Like if you like a band, you can play like the radio, something similar to this, or I want more of this. And so the first couple of songs are actually known Bad Bunny songs, and you just kind of go on about your day while you're listening in the background, and then they cut into what you think are like deep cuts, or like, oh, maybe there was an album that I'm not familiar with, and they just sneak in a bunch of music that's totally AI. And these Spotify and YouTube Music, they don't seem to care, or every once in a while they'll try to get rid of some of the AI tracks that are on there. But like his experience was like in the moment was real. Like he seemed to enjoy some of the songs and not so much some of the other songs. But like it was part of like, let me listen to Bad Bunny in the run up to the Super Bowl just so that I know all the music. And it turns out like half of the stuff he's listening to is just totally made up nonsense. And so they're not going back to the well of AI Bad Bunny. They're now being more careful to not get duped, So like, I think ultimately when people realize something is not real, it detracts from the experience, like no matter how they're engaging with it. And so like if it's a movie or if it's a song or if it's a book, if you read a book, I didn't know John Grisham wrote about this, and then you find out this shit was totally made up. There was some robot that figured out how John Grisham writes. Like it's not the same, so I guess it only works if you're ignorant of what's happening. But once you realize it seems to kind of detract from the experience.
But then right. You say it only works if you don't realize that it's happening. That suggests that, in fact, there is nothing intrinsic to real art that matters to the human being. If I can have a reaction to a piece of AI created nonsense, then all that matters is that I never find out that I've been duped, right?
Because, ultimately, all of these, like, I guess what gives it meaning is the fact that a human came up with it, And so once you remove that from the equation, the whole thing falls apart. All of the art, somebody did it, even if it's some art you don't like, somebody did it. If it turns out, like, who's that strange guy that paints everywhere? Like, there's some random artist that does
Banksy?
Yeah. Like, if it was some robot, doing it, the whole mystique would fall apart.
But if it was some robot doing it, someone would have told the robot to do it.
Yeah, but what if you just said,
I guess street art is different.
Muck up something, robot, and then robot does it, and maybe that's how the robot got away with it for so long. But I think there has to be some nexus to some sort of human involvement.
But the point is that like the reason that when you say Banksy, for some reason I have Shepard Fairey on the brain, the Obama Hope poster guy, right? That's Shepard Fairey, and that's the sort of thing that could have been created by an AI, right? Just the Obama Hope poster, like it's not unthinkable that it could have been created by an AI. The reason that piece of propaganda worked the way that it did was because of choices made by Shepard Fairey, right? Every single choice along the way informed something else. Yeah. And my reaction to it, as someone skeptical of something like the Obama Hope poster, is to wonder about what his motivations were. Yeah. Right? Like I am interested in engaging with that sort of political speech on the basis of what I think went into Shepard Fairey making that poster. Yeah. And it's interesting to engage with it based on is he a political operative? Is he just a campaign hack? Or is he an artist who had a moment of like sincere a sort of fervor that resulted in this thing happening? And that's interesting to some extent. But it's not something that if I go prompt Meta AI on my phone inside of WhatsApp to create something similar, I don't think that you can have the same level of engagement with it.
I do wonder if the one concern is if there is a generational divide. Because, now anytime somebody sees something that's AI, online, I'll see some comments about AI slop, get this out of here. There's some sort of rejection of it. But, you mentioned in a previous episode, like some YouTube accounts where they're just like knowingly fake videos are being promoted. I wonder if younger people just don't care. Like, if the younger generation just consumes it as all it's one. Like, so if there's some sort of video on YouTube that's like AI, and they don't care, it's funny, like it does whatever they want a video to do, and they don't care so much that it's not real. I wonder if it's different for them than it is for people.
The young people that I not relate to, I'm forced
Interact
to
with?
Interact with. They don't like it.
Okay, so that's good. That's reassuring.
I
Well,
mean,
they can not like it all they want.
That's the thing. They cannot like it all they want, but they use ChatGPT instead of Google. But like they'll look at something and be like, "Oh, that's just AI." Like they're like dismissive of it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
That gets
They're
to
weird.
what is even more pernicious about that sort of content, which is not that it produces identifiable shit that people recognize as being false, but that it reduces your faith in everything else, right?
Yeah.
That like
Literally every time I see something cool on Instagram, I'm like, is that real? Like,
Yeah.
it's ruined
Right, you
things
cannot-
that are real.
in a profound way, you cannot rely on the evidence of your own eyes
Yeah.
anymore. And
It
that's
sucks.
a
'Cause
fucking
some
disaster.
stuff's real.
I literally, it's like doing extra homework. I saw a clip over the weekend of a boxing fight where this one boxer decided to show up with like a toupee or something, and he's wrong profession to wear a toupee because he's getting punched, and there's a lot of head movement, and the toupee came off mid-fight, and I'm thinking I need to like do triple source check before I even decide to share. Hey, look at this bozo. I have to like. I'm not falling for this. This looks so fucking stupid.
Right.
And so I look at like 3 or 4 different sources. Drink a coffee, give it a few minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I think I'm confident now that this actually happened. And then I'll say, hey, look at this person. But like you have to be careful when you're consuming stuff now. Where in the past it's like you just assume that it's true, but now you can't assume anything is true.
And that's happened at the same time that when Trump wrote that text about not caring about peace anymore, I glanced at something about it on Twitter in the morning and very quickly was like, that's not a real, like, that does not deserve my attention because that is not a real thing.
Yeah.
And then like an hour later, Bob said it was real.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you then have industries of people who then tell you what this thing actually means, right? So it's the things that we have now determined are real. There will be 100,000 people who make a 3-minute video that tell you the secret reality that undergirds the thing that you think you saw. Yeah. Like, here's the thing that you didn't realize was actually going on here when you saw this thing.
For me, it's usually cute animals.
Nothing is to be believed, right? Even the thing that is true, secretly there's a hidden agenda there, or there's context that you don't understand, and I'm going to tell you. And all of it comes down to reaffirming one's worldview, reaffirming the things that you think you already know about the world, and usually in the direction of the world being worse than anyone else is willing to acknowledge, but you with the secret knowledge. I also had an experience in the last 24 hours or so with the Little League, which, without getting too much into the specifics,
that's coming back,
led me to sort of feel more institutional collapse. And this is largely unrelated, but we had to make an exception for a couple of families that wanted their kids to play at different levels than their age range would
We had
permit.
just had a meeting about having more rigid age restrictions. And everybody decided that was the right thing to do. Be more rigid about a kid is this age, they're in this type of league. That's it.
Right. And my memory or my experience is that when I was in the first and second grade, I played in the league for first and second graders. And then when I was in third grade, I played in the league for third and fourth graders. And then like when I was in fifth grade, I played against sixth graders, and they were way bigger and stronger than me. And I, whatever. And that was just, the rules were the rules. And like, I don't remember there being much controversy over what age group the kids played Little League Baseball in. We just played Little League Baseball according to our age, and there wasn't talk of like moving kids around because of it. And maybe this is old man yelling at clouds and things are as they ever were. But it feels like we are in a time where every fucking parent, the ones who are engaged anyway, want to advocate for their little precious baby. And like the rules must be bent. The world must accommodate what I think is best for my kid, rather than simply accepting, there's the rules of this little league say that you're league age 10, even though your birthday isn't until the end of July. And that sucks. That means you're going to be younger than everybody that you play against, and not going to have the best, like you're not going to be one of the 5 best kids on the team. Little Johnny. What
is the primary driver for this? I want to carve out for my child. Is it so that they play with their friends, or to have some sort of competitive advantage, to be the older of the bunch? Like
it runs the gamut, right? Like there will be people who think that like if my kid is going to find success, he needs to be good on the baseball field relative to his competition, and like that's what we're after. And then there are parents who are like, this isn't right. He's in the 4th grade with all of these fellow kids, and he's got to go play with kids that he doesn't go to school with, and he'd much rather play with his friends. So why can't we get an exception here? It's like, well, because you got to have a line somewhere, right? Like there's a one side of the age gap and the other side of the age gap, and like I didn't set the goddamn line, but that's where the line is. I don't know. Maybe it's probably nothing, but it does feel like this is a small symptom of the sort of institutional collapse that we've been dealing with for the last 10 years, which is because everybody and yeah, do I see it in relation to the phones and our narcissistic fucking insane culture, and the way in which we have generation now of people who have spent their entire lives looking at themselves on their fucking camera all the time? Yeah. And if I'm going to get weird about it, the meme that goes around where it's like POV ... I
hate that.
It says POV, and it's
wrong.
Like whatever the fuck it is.
But it's the second person point of view,
right.
which doesn't make sense.
It's a video of usually some, just by nature of the way the world works, some attractive person doing something, right? So
attractive girl drinking a glass of wine in Paris.
Oh, sure.
POV, you're on vacation in Paris. No, you're on vacation in Paris. I'm at home.
Right. But that speaks to... Because the idea is she's taking a selfie video, right? So I guess the theory is like it must have started with POV, you are the person taking the selfie video, but it's very much escaped that, and now you can put POV, you are ...
It's very strange,
and anybody could be filming the video. It's not a selfie video. It's just
the point of view is not. It's not.
The point
every
of view
once in a while, it's correct. POV.
No, 99%
you
of
wake up in the Baltics and you will see this landscape of the Baltics. Right. That is 5% of it.
Right. The overwhelming majority of these POV, you are ... are
second person
point of view.
Which is weird. That's not how we talk.
But it is how we experience the world. Right? Like, in some fundamental way, our brains and consciousness have shifted to the experience of the world being mediated by the device. And that is the reality of that meme more so.
I would bet $1 million.
I agree with you. No one has ever thought about it in that, like, nobody has internalized that thought as it was happening.
I'm not arguing with you there. I would bet $1 million that this shit started with the helicopter parents, which was the parents of the oldest Gen Z's youngest millennials, the Gen Xers kids, that is when if you ran a little league, the number of can my kid be the exception went up very quickly in the mid 90s.
Yeah, it's plausible.
It's not plausible. I would bet $1 million. I don't have $1 million. I'm willing to owe $1 million.
Isn't it also the case
that's when this started?
people have fewer kids now? That back in the day you'd have 4 or 5 kids, and now there's only 1 or 2, and so like there's more.
They're very special.
Yeah, more effort on the 1 or 2 kids.
Yeah, and it is like you can't helicopter parent 5.
Yeah. I mean, I got lost in the shuffle.
You just can't.
No, and it's the selfish 80s Gen Xers.
Yeah.
Thinking their kids are special.
There is something about the selfie generation and the living.
They're the selfie generation.
Right. And the complete the digital lives that these people have lived for so long.
Yes, it's the kids of the Gen Xers that started this.
It drives or exacerbates these narcissistic tendencies that we all have, right? Like, I'm not saying that I am not part of the problem here, but like it makes one's experience of the world much more subjective. It makes everything filtered through your individual perspective in a way that usually we used to filter our individual perspective just through our eyeballs, right? Like it was bad enough when that was our sense perception of the world was entirely dependent upon the inputs of ourselves, but somehow like putting it out here as well and putting it into this supercomputer device in your pocket has made it worse.
Right.
I don't know. Interesting stuff.
And also, the one thing I've noticed just for my casual perusing online, people, there's a lot of monkey see, monkey do with humans, and so sometimes people will, a lot of people are not even engaging with like what does POV mean. They just see how someone else is using it, and there's like almost kind of like this meaning decay where like whatever the original meaning of that was gets lost after each iteration, because like somebody's just, hey, that looks cool, I want to do that, I'm gonna sip,
POV.
Yeah, POV, or they'll use a song incorrectly, or they'll just use some meme and they misunderstand how it originally was intended to be used, and then by the end of it doesn't even matter, and people don't even know what the meaning of words or what they're doing anymore. They just see something and they copy it, and then somebody else does the same, and before you know it, it's lost all meaning, and it's like trending in that direction.
You sound increasingly like me with all of this stuff. You're supposed to be the one who's like, it's fine.
It's fine. I mean, eventually it'll be fine.
You could make this the tightest episode ever.
Yeah.
And we could go to bed and not be up too late.
All right. Though we have eschewed the normal format here of just complaining about Trump shit, which is sort of what we've been doing the last couple weeks because it's been particularly awful, I do have some good news, which is that Mark Strassmann has reported for duty.
Not fired yet.
Not on the CBS Evening News weekday edition, but he did make an appearance on CBS Evening News this weekend.
Oh, wow. Does the Copel have a problem with our boy?
That's what I'm worried about. There seems to be no space on the CBS Evening News for the senior national correspondent. All right, if you are unfamiliar with the game here, we will play a clip from CBS News' senior national correspondent, Mark Strassmann, and then determine whether or not he got off a good one. And that rocket looks just like a dildo.
Cold has forced NASA to reschedule its next moon mission. Tonight, the massive Artemis II rocket stands on Launch Pad 39B at the Kennedy Space Center. Like Apollo 8 in 1968, it won't land on the lunar surface. CBS's Mark Strassmann on why this latest mission is considered groundbreaking.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
During NASA's first lunar era, 24 Apollo astronauts, all white American men, flew around the moon or walked on it. More than a half-century later, Commander Reed Wiseman leads an Artemis II crew that redefines what today's NASA stands for, not America's 60s astronauts.
It's getting more real.
Astronaut Christina Cook will be the first woman to see the moon up close.
Obviously, there'll be a lot of girls of all ages watching. Is that important to you, that they look at you and say, that could be me?
We're in this world where we've chosen that everyone who has a dream gets to work equally hard to achieve that dream. That if you have something to contribute, you're welcome at the table.
That's good, yeah. A little less.
Victor Glover, the mission pilot, will become the first moon-bound black astronaut. He recalled for us telling his family.
And when I told them, they erupted. Let's go. I'm about to start crying right now. I needed that. I didn't even know I needed it.
And Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen, the first non-American on a moon mission.
Do you feel a certain responsibility representing Canada?
I certainly do. I guess after all these years as an astronaut, I've just come to the perspective that all I have to do in this world is just bring my best.
Over 10 days, Artemis II will launch from Florida and head 250,000 miles to the moon. It's a practice run for an actual moon landing, NASA hopes, by 2028. This mission compares to another pre-landing test flight, Apollo 8 in 1968. Its crew took this iconic image, Earthrise. Cook hung it on her bedroom wall growing up.
We're now back in a world where we travel to the moon. And I think that the pictures we send back will be the new norm for anyone who wants to put them on their walls in their bed.
In this, NASA's second lunar era, Artemis II will be a series of firsts. Mark Strassmann, CBS News, at the Kennedy Space Center.
All right, Abe, did CBS News' senior national correspondent, Mark Strassmann, get off a good one?
You know, I typically would not give it to him, but it's been so long.
Oh, you feeling generous, are you?
Yes. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Like, I mean, he tagged it at the end, Artemis 2, whatever, a series of firsts. Because, like, other than that, I mean, what was that? That NASA 60s, whatever? Not all 60s astronauts or whatever that was. It's pretty weak. But, yes.
He said something.
Oh, you ruined it. There was at the end, there was getting off a good one. Survivors blast Justice Department.
That's just a coincidence.
Yeah, but it's a good one.
He says something that NASA no longer stands for the 1960s astronauts?
Yes, what is it?
Commander Reed Wiseman leads an Artemis II crew that redefines what today's NASA stands for, not America's 60s astronauts.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't know where that came from.
This is such a weird goddamn framing. Like, that line in particular is a weird framing, because in 1968, the United States was 88% white.
Right.
And I think, according to the Google machine here, scientific workforce in the 1960s, they were 90% of scientists and engineers were men in the 1960s. So, like, NASA is disowning. They no longer stand for their 1960s. Like, it was 90-10 white and 90-10 male in terms of the plausible people who could have gone to the moon. And so, like, of the 20-something that went on moon missions, we're supposed to be recalibrating our understanding of who those men were. Like, I'm sorry, NASA was not racist. It is plausible to me that you can attribute racist causes to why and sexist causes as to why all of the available engineers and scientists were white men at the time. But, like,
they made that movie about those three
why are we complaining about this in this way? I don't get it.
Hidden Figures. Also, they mentioned that this is a dry run for the real thing in 28. Is that crew also, like, do they have a Canuck in there also, or like a woman, or is that going to be like a different composition?
The eventual actual moon
landing?
landing?
I mean, nobody cares about the the dry run unless something tragic happens.
At Chonky2129 one day ago, stop with the sex and race baiting. They are Americans. That's all that matters.
Well, not all.
Which I want to reply. Like, there's one fucking Canuck in here, too.
Wait, what is this? Replacement theory at its best. What is going on there?
At Brentel.Van Eaton, 6901 one day ago. Replacement theory at its best, cry laughing emoji, but still no other country can put a brother on the moon, cry laughing emoji.
You can't double dip like that. Look at this guy.
Also, they talked about in this report that this girl, this astronaut, when she was a young girl, hung on her wall Earthrise, right? The poster of the Earth rising over the moon's horizon there. If they take updated photographs of the Earth from the moon, what will be meaningfully different about the poster that hangs on the wall of the child in 2026?
Nothing is the same.
Unless they take it as a fucking selfie, as we discussed in the last segment.
Yeah.
Also,
That's why I think it's funny.
And can you imagine a more shameful display in terms of like human hubris and the centering of the self than the NASA photographs becoming selfies in 2026?
In Mom and Dad Save the World, when they go to that other planet, she takes a picture of Saturn and asks her husband to move over. She says, I want to take a picture of you and Saturn.
POV.
That's right.
You're on the fucking moon.
And those are Gen Xers, by the way.
And it's a selfie of you.
Will they have some sort of some language, like an even smaller step for man? Like we're back, or I don't know what they could say.
I don't know. I think we're doomed.
Do you think that flag is still there from the last go around?
I know the flag is still there.
Where would it have gone?
Or you should do like a selfie next to the flag. Oh shit! Look at this.
It is inevitable that people will be saying that we faked this as well.
Yes.
When this finally happens. Anyway, all right. You've been listening to Cast Iron Brains, a podcast with Bob and Abe. You can find the show on Substack, brainiron.substack.com for more from us, including the Billboard Hot 100 show and other shit. The opening and closing themes of the show were composed by Mark Gillig, tetramermusic.com, Tetramer music.com for more from Mark. Abe, I know you're distracted by men groping one another loudly at the movie theater.
I heard the groping. I did not see the groping.
Right, because you averted your gaze.
Yes.
From the gaze.
Very disciplined I am, yes.
Yeah. But how was the film?
The film. So I went to go see actually two movies. One of them being Shelter by Jason Statham, or starring Jason Statham. This movie was fine. What sort of a blue collar, hardworking individual is he this time? In years past, he's been the beekeeper or the working man or the whatever, but now he's just like a badass military dude that's just on an island, not one of those islands, just like a uninhabited island. He has like some a past with the British military. They want him dead, anyways. There's some sort of accident. The uncle of this, his niece survives some shipwreck or something happens where the uncle dies, and there's this girl who needs protecting, and Jason Statham protects her, and he tries to send her somewhere else or whatever, right? And the government's after him, so the whole movie is just him protecting this little girl from death. And he's like killing everybody like he always does. Basically, like any Jason Statham movie you've seen before, it's the same. Except this time he's doing away with the pretense of having some regular job. Like he doesn't have a regular job. He's a former military guy, like a special killing machine that the government came up with, and now they want him dead because he's too dangerous.
It's a Jason Bourne type situation.
Yes, something along those lines. Yeah. So, anyways, he goes around killing everybody with relative ease. He makes sure the girl makes it safe, and the movie ends, and everybody's happy.
Spoilers.
Yes. Sorry, spoilers. The second movie I watched was slightly better. Rachel McAdams in Send Help. So.
Oh, this is Sam Raimi.
Yes.
Latest, correct?
Sam Raimi product. Very well received by the critics. Maybe a higher grade than I would have given it. But Rachel McAdams plays this socially inept employee at this company. She's like the smartest thing they have going.
The trailer I found very amusing. We saw the trailer on television watching football probably last week, and she looks like a homely, sort of falling apart accountant
She's
type.
got a ponytail and glasses.
She's got frizzy hair and glasses, and she doesn't have much makeup on.
Yeah, they go
She's not hot.
They go to great lengths.
And then she gets to the island, and they're showing scenes from this. They've like crash landed on a deserted island, and like now she gets to be the hero for her shitty boss or whatever, and she's just revealed to be. Rachel fucking McAdams,
right.
an actual Hollywood smoke show.
Yeah.
And it's very funny that it went in that direction. Like this woman is too frazzled at home to brush her hair and put on a little lipstick and blush before work. But then she gets crash landed on a deserted island, and she's
you got to get that sea water.
So
that's what helps.
Here's the funny hook to that. So they spend the first 30 minutes of the movie just laying it out. She is a social outcast at work. Even though she's the backbone of the company, every deadline, she's the one that they go to make sure she does it. But then when she's like trying to be chummy with some of the coworkers, she overhears them talking about let's grab like a beer after work, and she's trying to like inject herself into that. And
I assume these are all men from the commercials.
Just a dude bro, just the most obnoxious dudes in there, and she's just this basically a social pariah. She was supposed to get a VP position, but the boss gave it to like his frat buddy,
like a frat buddy or whatever.
Yeah, because like he's got people skills and she lacks it, so she's just a total loser. And to drive the point home of what a loser she is, they cut to her home life. She lives alone, and she's got a bird, some sort of bird. Yeah. I don't think it was a parrot, but it's some sort of bird. But the kicker was, and this comes in handy later in the movie, she is a die-hard fan of the television show Survivor. So she's just there by her lonesome, just watching Survivor, and this is played to the audience.
Representation matters.
This is what a loser does, and I'm like, hey, what the fuck? Anyway,
and Abe is like, I'll come watch Survivor with you, Rachel McAdams. I mean, you're no Jessica Alba, but
got to get rid of that bird, though. Anyways, once she is on the island. Actually, before we get there, I'm not going to spoil too much because this is actually a semi-decent movie, but she's passed over for a VP role, but they're like, hey, we're going on this work trip, and if you can show me what you got. You got to be able to close people, not like numbers, but you got to be able to do this. So they all get on this plane that crashes. But while they're in flight, they somehow find access to her audition tape for the television show Survivor. And she's just a total loser. She's like on a tree, like, hey, Jeff, put me on the show. And just a poor showing on her part. But she learned how to make a fire, which is an important part of the television show Survivor. So when
important part of survival.
Yes, also in real life. So like when the plane crashes, the boss and her are the only two that survive. All the other coworkers, they fucked off in the ocean. But he gets injured, so
nice way of putting it.
He needs her, but he's still like, hey, I'm your boss. And the whole thing, there's a little back and forth, and the movie kind of unravels from there. But again, pretty good movie overall. It's a little longer than it should have been, but it's an entertaining movie. I don't know who the guy is who plays her boss, but he just a total piece of shit.
It must be good because you have spoiled this no more than the trailer has.
Yes,
you've given no new information, so you must. You must think it's worth watching.
It's worth watching, yeah. But like I said, like you already noticed from the trailer, the frumpy up thing only works for the first 30 minutes. Once she's on the beach, and afterwards, it's kind of hard to do that.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's a good movie.
Well, that's good. It looks fun.
Also,
Sam Raimi has always got a lot of energy there.
It should be noted, after a very lackluster 2025, where I watched not even 50 movies, 7 movies in the month of January, on pace for 80+ movies this year. Not going to hit that, but I'm back. Just as long as it's, if I see those 3 dudes again, then maybe it's,
That's right.
But so far,
They
so
can
good.
have it.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that you watched?
No.
Anything else that we watched?
We really didn't. We played games and talked. Let me check the thing. But
We watched one more episode of the Chair Company.
Ah, nice.
I can't figure out what kind of bread treat to make.
Oh?
Last year it was so obvious. I made a king cake. It was in New Orleans.
Where are they having it this year? In San Fran or San Jose?
Yeah, and I already make sourdough, so boring.
I Googled what's a good bread thing to make for the Super Bowl, and Lori was not impressed with any of the results. Am I missing something here, or is this one of the least exciting Super Bowls
We talked about it last week already.
in recent vintage?
But I don't think it's going to reflect in the ratings. The ratings are going to be gangbusters. It'll be fun because, this is West Coast, so the sun will be up for the first half, It should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who gives a shit about the Sam Darnold-led Seahawks
I'm
and
gonna
the
watch it.
Drake May-led
But
Patriots?
yeah, that's true. But we've had these kind of Super Bowls before. I mean, it's been a while since Mahomes and the Chiefs have been in so many of them that we haven't had this is an unusual year. We'll see how this shakes out. But yeah, I mean, it could be very fun.
What's your prediction, Abe? It's a 4.5-point line for the Seahawks. Who you got?
I think Seahawks are the better team. They should win, but as long as it's close, I don't care who wins. I don't want to blow out in either direction. Just as long as it's close.
I think Seattle's going to mop the floor with them. I think 4.5 is ridiculous. I think.
Do you need money to bet?
No, I could lose some money. I can add some money to my account as needed. I don't know that I will. I haven't decided yet whether or not I'm reloading the gambling app. I'm sure I will at some point.
That's a new year, yeah. Running it back.
All right, Abe, have you got anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
I guess that's all we've got for you tonight then, and we will talk to you next time.
Later.
Leaves us still, will to The proceeding was created with 100% human content.